Hey everybody, I'm Vanessa Victor and welcome to my Dyslexic Life. Today I wanted to talk about being late in lockdown. Now that actually takes quite a talent, doesn't it? It actually takes quite a talent to be late for a meeting when you're in lockdown. So you haven't got to travel anywhere. You haven't got to negotiate, parking. You haven't got to negotiate public transport. So, but you can still be late for a meeting. And this is something that happened to me last week. Now, here in New Zealand, we have been incredibly lucky that we haven't had to spend a lot of time in lockdown. However, our lockdown started 2 weeks ago, and we've had a case of the Delta variant, and so New Zealand went into quite a sudden lockdown. So literally, I think it was announced at 6 p.m. one night, and by midnight that night, we're all in complete lockdown. So, and I made a video earlier about how that affects you when your plans change. So we've been working from home, and I had an experience last week where I was late to a meeting, and it really made me laugh because it just is such a dyslexic thing. It's that concept of time and our time management. And as I've said, I didn't have to go anywhere to get to this meeting. I didn't have to negotiate public transport. I didn't have to drive anywhere. I didn't have to park. All I had to do was be sitting at my desk in my office by 9:30 in the morning. And it was with a meeting with the rest of the Truth About Dyslexia team. So I could actually just text them and say, I'm really sorry, I can't join till 9:45. And I just thought it was funny because, as I've said, late to a meeting when all I have to do is walk downstairs. But it was more the way our dyslexic mind works. So that morning I got engrossed in doing some email replies that I needed to do. And, I woke up nice and early and I'm like, I've got all of this time before I have our meeting. And obviously I didn't really want to turn up to the meeting in my pajamas. So, I was going to get dressed, have breakfast, and reply to some emails. So I actually started replying to the emails first. And so I'm sitting there in my pajamas, replying to some different emails. That's lockdown life, isn't it? But the difference is I got so engrossed with doing those emails, and I just really didn't allow enough time for writing those emails. Because in true dyslexic style, I just saw myself writing the emails and them being finished. I didn't actually factor in any time for composing the email, how long it was going to take to type it, was it what I wanted to say, reading it back, and all of that stuff that we do with emails. So actually my kind of like half an hour for doing emails ended up being nearly a whole hour. And then I was in the position of like, oh my gosh, now all of a sudden I've only got 20 minutes to like get showered, dressed, have breakfast, and make sure my son was up for his online learning. So I kind of went from having all of this time in the morning to all of a sudden only having 20 minutes. And what I've learned over the years is my dyslexia means when I think about doing a task, I just see it finished. So I don't always allow the time that's needed for the task to happen. And that's exactly what happened with the emails. I just saw them as being finished. I didn't really allow myself that hour I needed to get them done. And even getting ready for the meeting, the same thing happens. I think, I'll just get dressed, but I don't allow the time to like shower, choose what I'm going to wear, whatever that little process is. Usually that should probably take about half an hour to 45 minutes. But I tend to think I can squeeze it into 10 minutes. And it's this relationship that we have with time that can trip us up. And it was exactly this that happened on this morning. And luckily, because it's the Truth About Dyslexia team, I could just text them and say, I'm going to be late, because I didn't really want to turn up to the meeting in my pajamas. So, and they could understand that. But I was laughing, because imagine if that was a meeting that I couldn't be late to. And I remember the days of when I would have been so stressed because I wouldn't have allowed myself enough time to get ready. I wouldn't have allowed myself enough time to set up the computer. Like, that's the other thing I keep forgetting in lockdown, is that if I have a 2 o'clock meeting, actually I kind of need that to start at 1:45, because you need to set your computer up, you need to log on if there's any, issues with Zoom or Google Meet or whatever it is you're using. It gives you time to work those out. So add in all of those things, and all of a sudden, here I am, late for a lockdown meeting. So I just wanted you to know, I spend a lot of my time being positive about my dyslexia, and I really do embrace it. And I just wanted you to know, though, it still does affect me, okay? I still have these challenges. I think the biggest thing for me now, though, is I can laugh about it, because I can understand why it's happening. And, me of 5 or 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said I'm going to be late for the meeting. I just would have stressed myself out trying to get ready. I would have got to the meeting in a really flustered, anxious, stressed state and tried to make it on time. And I wouldn't have been able to, because there wasn't enough time to get ready. But I would have been really stressed and anxious. Whereas now what I do is, where possible, I can, text the other members and say, I'm going to be online at 9:45 and I'm very sorry for being late. But because I understand why I'm late and I deal with it there and then, rather than getting into that really anxious state, it doesn't affect me as much. So I'm still dyslexic. I'll always be dyslexic. I'm always going to have some challenges with time. Even after all my Davis work, there are days where, as I've said, in this morning, I just didn't factor in all the time that I needed. But the real difference is how that affects me now. And if you can understand why you do these things, that's a huge step towards accepting yourself and accepting your dyslexia. So I just wanted to share with you that I think it's a true dyslexic talent, being able to be late for meetings in lockdown when all you have to do is sit at your own computer. I hope you've enjoyed today, and I'm sure there's going to be some more dyslexic tales out of this lockdown. And I hope you have a good week, everybody. Bye.